Hello world, it's Dave. Couldn't help but noticing a real cool thing today. I guess it's been kind of on my mind a little bit in terms of culture shock since I've come to Japan. And it all stems from when I'm back home and I walk into a number of different stores, and I bet, you could do this test with a lot of people, maybe in the US as well, maybe in the UK. I don't know about a lot of other countries, but there's something to be said that you will almost racially profile a job. It's something that you grow used to. Where you go into a 7-Eleven, you expect to see a certain sort of person. You go to get in a taxi, you expect to see a certain kind of person. And when you come to Japan, when you got this monoculture, when you got this place where, for the most part, it's one people, it's really, really striking when you don't see that anymore. You go into 7-Eleven, you go into all these other places I mentioned, and you see the same people. Now, you could say that that's not very enlightened because it's all one people, so of course that was going to, that was going to happen. But I don't think that you could ignore, whether it was intended or not, just the sort of social repercussions that happen because of that. Because everyone of one culture is sharing all the different jobs that we have available to us, there's less of a prejudice, I would say, because there is absolutely a prejudice. You're like, I wouldn't work that job because only this ethnic group works that job, and I'm above, working in that position, when it's people who, in Canada would be they can't speak English that well, so I wouldn't have that kind of job. It's limited to those people. Where here you just, in Japan, of course, you have a job and you get whatever job you can, and people just seem to respect you for the fact that you have a job. And like I say, whether the intended result from this is that people respect everyone regardless of the level of position they're in more or not, whether or not that was the desired effect, it is what happens. And people here are not so caught up on, in my impression, my experience obviously is all that I have to go on, but people just respect you for working. And I think this is a wonderful thing. And I guess it wouldn't have come to my mind because unless I'd gone to a culture like this where you see people of the same ethnicity doing every single job that's available, unless I came to Japan. And I guess it spoke out even more to my mind because I didn't realize how pronounced it was in my mind until I came to a place like this. Um, so I was just thinking, that's strange that I don't think of that as something that necessarily was a big focus in my mind. But when I realized how much it shocked me to walk into these businesses and not see what I expect, it really made me think about it, and made me think about back home. Even if you're not intending to think of yourself as aloof or above doing a certain position, it sort of becomes ingrained. And I think that that's really sad when I think of the way that things work back home. And it's made me sort of reassess my opinion of what different jobs are, and what value there is in a person doing them. And it's kind of a cliche, but it reminds me of a lesson that we should never forget, is that a job does not define who someone is. It's all the same people, regardless of if you see a different color of skin when you walk through that door, and you start to develop a prejudice because of that. You start to think it's only foreigners who did this job, or foreigners who do that job. No, really, it's just we do the jobs that we got to do, and I think that's a good thing in Japanese culture, whether intended or not, and should make anyone not from this culture maybe examine a little bit more when they look out at their sort of expectations. I'm not saying shoot low. I'm not saying, well, then you should be really excited if your job is pumping gas or whatever, but I would use it as cause to hesitate before you judge someone for the role that they're in. Um, you definitely can't ignore that we're all very similar in Japan, or at least you can't ignore that all the Japanese are similar to each other because, well, they're all kind of the same as each other in that one way, in appearance at least. So this was just a general thought that I had concerning the little bit of culture shock. You know, it's, I guess in a way it's sort of a reverse culture shock. It's more me looking back at my own culture as kind of strange now that I've grown used to this, but a valuable lesson for being more aware of the decisions that we make when it comes to work and not so quickly judging people dependent on the position that they have. An interesting thought. So yeah, thanks for checking this out. Thanks for tripping with Dave. And if you like, subscribe. I got more culture shock videos, all this stuff as they come to me, as I realized how culturally prejudiced I am in my own country. I'll continue to post. Yeah, and until we meet again next time, world. Thanks for tripping with Dave. Ciao for now.